And in three, two, one. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Real Investment Property Income. You know what, Jonathan? Jonathan, I'm going to start over. I think today we should announce it. We are rebranding. We had a little tiny rebrand the start of the year, but we're about to approach our 100th episode. I think this is episode 98 that we're recording right now. No, this is 99. Jonathan, I believe this is 99.
The Wayne Gretzky episode.
The Wayne Gretzky episode. You are such a dork. So I think this is I think I'm going to have to do this intro over one more time. I just want to I'm just double checking here, but I think this is our episode 99 that we're recording, Jonathan. That's crazy. It's been a year and a half since we started this, and it's been a heck of a ride. I'm really excited for the next 100 episodes. But yeah, we are. I just checked. We are absolutely recording episode 99 right now.
And to just prove that we do this totally on the fly, that was totally on the fly. I'm like, okay, we're going to start. Oh, no, we're not.
Oh, no, we're 100% starting. I'm just going to announce it. I figured, you know what? In the middle of all this, let's do it. In 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the new branding of the Real Investment Property Income Podcast 2, Guide to the Grind. We are all about money, mindset, and momentum, helping guide you through your journey wherever you're at. We're going to meet you. We've done a great job for the last 100 episodes, delivering great content from our guests, mediocre content from ourselves, and certainly making some great connections out there talking to our audience. We're really grateful for you for listening. We're really grateful for all of the positive feedback we get from folks. And we're also really grateful to be on our 99th episode. We have a very special guest coming up for the 100th episode. I'm really excited for that one. I got a lot of reading to do, though, because I want to come back into that conversation a little more educated. But today, joining me on Guide to the Grind, as always, one of Canada's top mortgage brokers, a very debonair man, and the cheese to my crackers, Mr. Jonathan Tilger. Jonathan, how are you today, sir?
Well, I am doing awesome. You've completely thrown me the way you started this. And I'll just say, just so everyone knows how you even started the recording was I was in the mid-sentence saying something. All of a sudden I get the announcement saying, recording has started. Going, all right, I guess we're starting now. And that's just how we operate and how we fly. So yeah, of course, I'm having fun, having a blast. Always when talking to you, that's how it goes.
I'm you know what, JT, it's interesting because we actually had nothing special planned for this. We planned a special guest for the 100th episode, but I realized it was 99 when we got started there, and I really think it's time we announce everything that we're doing. Guide to the Grind is the new branding. Everything that we've been working on is going to be moving forward. Everything's going under one moniker. We're going to be changing all of our social media and all of that jazz so that we really get one message out there, and that is education. Wherever you're at, within the spectrum of becoming an entrepreneur, becoming an investor, becoming a real estate investor, wherever you are, we want to be able to bring content to you that delivers impactful information. And I would say truly our mission has become to help as many people as possible. I don't think we can put a number on that yet. I don't think we've had that conversation enough, but my favorite thing that we do is hearing when people are successful. I love seeing growth, whether you're just starting out or you decide, it's time to level up and start playing bigger than you were before. That stuff is always really cool. I'm just really grateful to be here doing what we're doing, JT. I love doing this with you. Thank you for being you, my friend. And happy to launch the whole new Guide to the Grind. You can also check out our YouTube channel, which we are finally using our YouTube channel. Jonathan, you look way better in person than you sound. Not that you sound bad. I'm just saying you're a debonair.
Back to the thesaurus word you looked up this morning. Very well done.
A thesaurus.
Thesaurus. Yes.
JT, you and I talked about doing a clips show for our 99th episode, and shows how off the cuff we are, because I was totally going to do that. And I didn't. So I think what you and I should do is kind of recap our year to start. Talk about some of our favorite subjects and topics and guests and stuff like that, and pay a little homage to the folks that we've had join us throughout the year. Who would you say was your favorite guest?
Well, one of the most recent ones, it was just a fun conversation getting into what they was doing was Chris and suddenly I forget.
Chris Mosier and Scott Frickson.
That's right. Yeah. There was just so much fun talking with them, hearing how they are working, really how they're specialized in a niche and just loving the niche they're doing, and how in doing that, it's like they're doing incredibly well business wise, but it doesn't feel like work for them.
I think that's my favorite thing to hear. Honestly, out of all the people that we have on here, there seems to be a common thread. They're just doing what they love.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if you've ever played the cash flow game, the Robert Kiyosaki game that costs like $500 to buy. There's actually meetups and stuff that they play that. I've only played it once, and what I really did like about it was helping people understand that earning if you make a wage, you'll earn a living, but if you make profit, you can make a fortune. And I mean, it's something that Jim Rohn, I've heard him talk about many times. I listen to Jim Rohn all the time. But truly understanding how to get off that hamster wheel of just enough and affording a life that a lot of people aren't particularly fond of, we'll say, and where that hamster wheel ends and people start to some people, it's kind of funny because when you're running on that hamster wheel, the other hamsters are like, keep running, keep running. But as soon as you fall off, you land on stable ground. Wow, this analogy is getting deep, by the way. And you land on stable ground, you realize like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And you look over and you see those other fools running on the hamster wheel, and where the hell are they going so fast? And they're not getting ahead. They get a little ahead, then they get pulled back, and a little ahead and pulled back. I love talking to people like Chris and Scott because they didn't bother with the hamster wheel. Like they broke out of the mold and they found what they really wanted to do, and then they figured out how to monetize it. What have you done over the years that, I mean, I guess I know what we've done together to monetize the things that we love, but what do you love doing most about the things that we do? What are your favorite parts of that?
I love the parts I love is seeing people when people sort of get it and they start succeeding. That's what really drives me. It's kind of like my own personal success. Don't get me wrong, I love that, but really seeing somebody go from hey, they're struggling, all of a sudden the lights go on. They just see, wait, there's a different path. There's a different way to do things. And it's going back to what you're saying about that hamster wheel. We all think that we've got, what are we taught? You want to go to school, get a job so you can make a living, for the hopes that one day you can retire.
Yeah.
But if you do things a little bit differently, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm at a point where I have no plans to ever retire. And why? And if you're doing something you enjoy doing every day, what's the reward in retiring? I want to set up, I mean, really a long time ago, I started figuring things out that if I set up my life the way I want today, then I can enjoy the life I want to have. And I love seeing when people realize that, when the lights go on and they start setting things up to do, basically live life on their terms, as opposed to this is what they're supposed to do.
You know, I couldn't agree with you more on that. And I'm not faulting anybody for it. It's just that people value security over other things. Like, it's just where they're, somebody that goes and gets that 9 to 5 and they're happy with it, then I'm happy for them. That's not what we're talking about here. Like, that's security. You value that. You're getting that need met. Perfect. Cool. You get the white picket fence, the 2.3 kids, the cat, the dog. And if that's where you're happy, that's freaking amazing. And I know people that live that life, and I love seeing them happy in that life. What I'm talking about is the people who want more, but they don't know what it is they don't know. And that awakening is something that I love. I love when people start that. I remember my mom many years ago. Um, she bought her first house at 50, and we got involved in network marketing, and she started dreaming bigger. And she, for many years, she's like, this is the house I'll die in. But and then one day she looked at me and she said, I always thought I was going to die in this house. It's my first house. It's, I bought it, worked my ass off to get it, but I want more now. I was like, wow, that was cool. Like there's a spark that comes on
Yeah.
in somebody when they're like, wow, I thought this was the best I could do. But I'm not even, this is nowhere near as good as I can do. I love seeing people on fire like that.
And I'll just jump in because when I know people think, well, that's all about materialism and so forth. It's not really about materialism. It's not about having more so you can have more stuff. It's about basically, I say, opening your mind up to bigger experiences. And yeah, I mean, some people, the dream might be to have a certain car or a certain house or a bigger house, whatever that is. And if that's what it is, then phenomenal. But for a lot of people, it's not about the material stuff. It's about being able to wake up and basically it's, hey, I can live this day on my terms, doing what I want to do, doing what I love to do. And you mentioned about someone going to a job, and there's a lot of people who go to jobs that they love, or they go to jobs that they recognize is getting them to a place, getting them to where they want to be. And that's what I would say with, I mean, having jobs, you want to look at the job as is either you're at a job to either because it's something you love doing, because it's something where you're learning a skill set that you want to have for something else you want, or because it really is providing the type of life you want going there. And if it's not kind of one of those three, you got a question saying, is this really the right job for you to be doing?
I think that is the greatest tragedy that I see among people who are, I want to say, uninitiated. It's kind of the way to look. You're not in business unless you've cried yourself to sleep at night because of your business, period. And people who have accomplished and people who have failed along the way, they know, especially the people who have accomplished, the people who have succeeded know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the scars, the scraped knees, the broken hearts, the tears that make it all worth it. When you hit, wow, this is not the conversation I thought we were going to have, Jonathan. But I know myself, like my mindset is so different from way back when I worked in the film business. I knew I didn't want a cap on my salary. That's why I didn't go into certain categories, because they would have salary caps. Like, you can make this much. And I'm like, no. That it needs to be negotiable. I don't want to know what I'm going to be making for the rest of my life. And it was only when people started opening my eyes to the possibility of other opportunities out there. And this is actually really interesting, JT. I don't know if I told you this, but I ran into a gentleman a few days ago that back when I was about 20 years old, he used to come into the bar that I worked at, and he was a day trader. And he would come in with this group of people, and they were super nice. They're all expat Brits. And I was super interested in trading at the time. And I went up to him like, hey, it's funny. So I saw him the other day. I'm like, is your name Roger? He's like, yeah. I'm like, did you come into the Queen's Head in Burlington, back in like 2000? He's like, yes, I did. And we got, shooting the I'm not going to swear, shooting the crap. And I was like, you actually had a major influence on me back then. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I was 20 years old at the time. And I remember asking him about day trading. I'm like, can you tell me anything about it? Like, how do you do it? How did you get involved? He said, Jeff, I went to school for a whole bunch of times, or for a whole bunch of years, and got my license and all of that stuff just to figure out how to buy low and sell high. And that conversation set me down a path where I was like, okay, maybe I don't need to understand this. Maybe I don't need to go to school for this. Maybe I can just learn it on my own. And that was a revelation for me, because at that point I was done with school, and I didn't want to go back to school. And I was like, well, if there's a way that I can learn this on my own, I'm going to do it. And here we are all these years later. And that one little conversation was such a big turn, you know?
Yeah. Well, I hear you. Well, it's interesting as you were talking. So there was a book I recently, I'll say, listened to, an audiobook by Frederick Dodson. It's about the flow state.
Okay. This is
And
interesting.
yeah, and the flow state's really about, I'll just say it's being completely and totally in the moment, to the point where you're able to like feel and sense what's happening.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I know that. I know that feeling. Actually, we were having that conversation this morning, weren't we?
Yeah, we were actually, you mentioned that just the state you were in, and yeah, it's kind of like that's really it. It's when you're getting a pulse for what's happening. You're able to, okay, here's the momentum. This is the way the momentum's going. Let's go with the momentum.
It's interesting. When you talk about flow state, if you ever watch somebody who's really good at anything, they get into a flow. Great athletes, but it's not just athletes that you can see. It's a great chef.
Yeah.
They move, they pivot a certain way. An artist moves a certain way. A brilliant carpenter moves, like you can see that there's just a mastery to their movement. And I'm starting to learn there's also a mastery of intellectual movement, I guess is the way to say it, that your mind is sharp enough that you're catching things all over the place and you're not stressed out by what's going on. You're just aware of it, and you're kind of this is a really weird conversation. I just I would say you're not moving anything yourself. It's all in motion, and you can simply kind of move it a little more into the trajectory that you want it to go. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense. But it's, as you're saying, it's not, I'll just say, it's not up here. It's not an intellectual process.
Hmm.
And there's times where when you're in that state and you do something, and if someone were to ask you, well, how'd you do that? You couldn't actually explain how or why you did it. It was just something said, do it. And I mean, you mentioned sports, and sports is phenomenal when you see an athlete who's truly, they're just, I'll just say, like in hockey. I mean, we're in Stanley Cup playoffs, just started last night. So watch the Leaf game, and it's kind of like in hockey, where the player who the puck just kind of follows them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you see it every once in a while, and you'll see that there's times they're in it, there's times they're out of it. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing when it happens. I mean, one of my favorite things, you watch a band when they get in that state too, because it's just fun, because they just improvise, and as soon as one person goes, everyone just knows, hey, this is where we're going, let's go with it.
The best band I've ever seen be able to do that is the Rolling Stones. And I spent many years working in music and working backstage as a stage man, not a stage manager, a road manager for a punk band. And it was a lot of fun, and it was great to see them. They had been doing it for so many years that they could get up there and just click. But you could also tell there were nights where they were, 90% there, and there were nights where they were 100% there. But I've seen the Stones a couple of times, and the Stones just flow. Like that's the only way that you can explain that. It's like their energy just meshes and they become one unit. It's such a cool thing to see. Um, that's I think you really have to find the right people to be around you for that to happen, though. And that's a challenging thing. Do you find, as we're talking about all of this kind of ethereal sort of fringe stuff, which is just such a strange conversation for us to be having, but obviously it's meant to be having. We're meant to be having this conversation. Damn it, I forgot what I was going to ask.
Well, I'll bring things back just to what you were saying, because just to bring it back to the business side and what we're talking about, what we do, it's about having really the right people around you, developing the right team, and effectively having people who
Oh
will
yeah,
be in
yeah.
sync with you. And being in sync doesn't mean they just blindly follow or do what you say, but it's having that back and forth. And I mean, I did for a while, I did improv, Second City improv stuff. And the Second City improv, it's kind of like the one rule with improv is go with it.
Never say no.
Yeah, it's the yes and it's kind of like go with it, but add to it. And so it's the same thing. It's when you find people in business to be in that flow state with them, it's you want someone who will, when I say yes and, yes doesn't always mean you're agreeing in the positive.
Mhm.
Yes might mean, hey, you know what, right now, based on what you're saying, I'm getting a gut feeling, something's saying something's not right here. Let's challenge this a little bit, but not in a way of that's a dumb idea, but all right, maybe we should consider these other parts of this as well.
Yep.
So ultimately, when you've got a team and you're working on something together, everyone's contributing either, hey, here's other directions we need to look at, different things we need to consider.
You know, that's such an interesting. This is a whole different conversation. So what I was originally going to ask is, when you were coming up through all of this, how do I explain this? As you develop as a person, your energy level changes, your vibrational level. And I know this sounds weird, and this is more the stuff that you're into than what I'm into. But I do believe in a lot of this stuff because you exude an energy. Okay. We talked about this the other day with our mortgage team. When we were training the team. We talked about when you meet a celebrity and they walk into the room and you can feel the moment they walk into the room. You don't even have to know that they're in the room. And whether it's an aura that they're giving off, or like an electrical energy or whatever that they're giving off, or the reverence with which the people around you pay them, or give them, I don't know. I don't know whether, but I do know that every time I've met a celebrity, there is this surety within them. They are 100% who they're supposed to be in that moment. Doesn't mean they're always like that, but in that moment, that's who they are. That's who they're supposed to be. And there is a real power in that. But there's also a ramp up to get to that. You don't just start out being 100% you at any one time. You have to figure out along the way to build up your own character. And at those points, you have different energy that you put out. Have you found on your journey up that there were points where you attracted like really, really crappy people just because your energy wasn't 100% like guard, like you were out there, but you didn't know how to have the guard around it?
Yeah, well, that's completely the case. And I'll go back for a second. I'll go back to what you're saying about the celebrities, and a lot of celebrities will have called a stage name.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like when
Ladies
they're
and gentlemen, please welcome Donna.
Yeah, that's yeah. But, you had to go there, but but with that, I mean, a lot of, and this is kind of part of what I've learned, but also understand, is that a lot of that stage name is kind of like who they are in the celebrity mode. And I'm sure that if you were to get them one-on-one when they're private at home, they're a different person.
Yeah.
But they recognize, hey, when I'm out here, I'm doing this. I watched, I remember several years ago, I watched a documentary, and it was about sort of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and their relationship.
Mm.
And I remember that in there was this whole part, and it was actually Arsenio Hall who was saying it on this documentary.
Whoop, whoop,
And
whoop, whoop.
exactly, yeah, that guy. but he was talking about when he was talking with Larry, and when it took a lot of years for Larry and Magic to become friends. And it was when they were actually doing a commercial shoot, and it happened to be on Larry Bird's property in Indiana. And Arsenio said, "Oh, so you met what was his what's Magic's actual name? Or Irving? No, you met Irving." Because he had his outside, hey, this is who I am, this is how everyone sees him. But no, he met Irving. He met the real person behind that.
Yeah, I would think it would be really difficult to be a celebrity. I know When I was in network marketing, I was on the rise, and network marketing creates this great little microcosm of edification that allows people to become celebrities in a very small circle of people. And when I say small, I mean tens, if not the hundreds of thousands of people. But they step outside that room and nobody has a clue who they are.
Yeah.
And I have some friends who are really big deals in network marketing. They're just really good guys. But you get around the right people and they'd be like signing autographs and taking pictures and stuff. And it was really interesting because I started to get into that club. I was at the very low end of it, but I was hanging around with all the people who were producing, and I was starting to hit numbers and grow, and people would stop me and want to take their picture with me. And I was like, what is this? Is crazy. This is such an experience. And it was on a very small scale and it was pretty localized. Like it was only in my own market really that people knew me. But I wouldn't want to walk outside and have people scream my name and trying to take my picture. And that's got to really weigh on you mentally. Like you look at, I look at celebrities, I'm like, oh, they have so much money and blah, blah, blah. But they can't go to the grocery store. They can't do something simple like go to the bar. Everything has to be, bodyguards and all of that. What's that do to you mentally? How isolated do you become from the real world?
Yeah, well, it becomes a different way of living for sure. Not so, as you say, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want it or not. It's one of those, I think you have to experience it to understand it. And
I'd rather be rich than famous.
yeah,
And this is like, oh man. So I don't know if you know who Bad Baby is. Do you know who Bad Baby is?
I don't know.
She was the teenage idiot that was on Dr. Phil. She was the meet me outside. How about that to Dr. Phil? Like, meet me outside, Dr. Phil. She was that girl. No,
I still don't know. No,
of course,
no, no.
yeah. Get a television, Jonathan. Um, anyhow, this is making me question reality and the fabric thereof. This chick turned 18 last year and she opened an OnlyFans account. She made something like $110 million the year she turned 18 with an OnlyFans account, and most of it was not nudity. How do you feel about your MBA, Jonathan?
Well, first of all, I don't have an MBA, but yeah.
Sorry, your bachelor's degree. She bought a $5 million mansion in cash.
Yeah.
Cash. Our world is getting really screwy. But at the same time, how I can't fault her for it. I like brilliant for her to do that. She's set for life. Whatever she does with it from now on, she could be, 18, $110 million. It's not usually a good situation. However, holy crap, smart marketing on her part. Yep. and for wanting to fight Dr. Phil. It's kind of awesome. Because of Dr. Phil, she made $110 million. I gave her good advice. She just didn't take it. So
instead she made $110 million.
She made $110 million. I've even got the hairline starting. Back on what we're talking about though, JT, the energetic level that you project. Have you found there were points in your rise that you attracted shitty people?
Oh, completely the case. There's you can, if you're not aware of what's happening internally, just look at what's happening externally, because that's a mirror of what's happening. So there's definite times where things have gone incredibly well, and there are times where things have not gone so well. And if I look back, I mean, I haven't always been aware of what's happening internally. I look back, it's kind of like what's happening internally was foreshadowing what was going to happen externally, because the external was just catching up to the internal,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know, I get it. I get it. It's funny. So a couple things about that. One, yeah, 100%. I can see. I saw a quote the other day. It had Tom Hardy's picture on it on Instagram, but that doesn't mean that he said it. Um, it was about being an elevated thinker, and it's an interesting place to get to when you can't get upset by people's actions because you actually see the motivation behind it. I'm not there yet, but I certainly do my best to get to that point where if somebody's doing something, I kind of forgive them in the moment, like right away. Because I realize, like, if that person's yelling at me, there's probably something else really wrong going on in their life, and it's not me that did it. And I kind of feel bad for them. And you can see this a lot in people. I'm sure you're completely aware of this stuff as well. When you see people doing things and you're like, you almost feel bad for them because they don't know how to express themselves. Um, but I noticed when I first moved to the big city, being a small town boy, I had all sorts of good energy, but I had no guard around it. And this is kind of I can't exactly explain what I mean by a guard, but I remember when I first moved to the city, I was completely open. And I would walk down the street and every crazy person would talk to me. And I mean, I had some interesting conversations moving to the big city, being a small town boy. And I quickly learned that you can't be that open. And it's an openness. I can't explain it, but it's just putting love out there. Like I walk down the streets of my hometown now, and there are some idiots, as they call them, that have moved here that don't understand when you pass somebody on the street, you could look them in the eye, smile, and say hello. Um,
Because they became guarded from living in the city.
Right? It's crazy. But even when I lived in Cabbagetown, like you get to a point where you can figure out who's you can read their energy. How about that? That's probably the easiest way to say it. And you know which energy to give them back.
Yeah.
And that's a really, you know what, as it sometimes it just helps to talk these things out to explain it, but that's exactly what it is reading their energy and giving them the same energy back. Because there would be people you'd smile and say hello, good morning in Cabbagetown when I was living there, and then the next person you gotta put the shell over yourself is the way I always kind of thought about it. It's like close off and look straight ahead and kind of look tough. And then the next person you could say good morning to. But I think not just walking down the street that you have to do that, but you have to do that in every area of your life. And it doesn't mean that I don't trust people. It's just that I always give them back what they're giving me, or better. I try to do better. Like if somebody's super negative, I'm going to be super positive. That's who I am. That's how my mindset works. I want to be super positive because two things happen. One, I'm either going to bring them up, or two, they're going to go away from me. And I'm all right with either one of those outcomes.
Well, I mean, going back to what you're saying, and this goes back to, I think, the flow state, and it's really about being in the moment and recognizing that, yeah, you can 100% pick up on, as you say, when you walk up to someone on the street, if you're truly being in the moment, you can pick up and tune into what's happening with them.
Mm-hmm.
And and then you've got, yeah, as you say, you've got a choice. You can either say, hey, I'm at this level here, and you can adjust to their level, or you can say, hey, I'm at this level here. Mm-hmm. Either you can come to my level and meet me here, mm-hmm. or it's probably not the right time for us to interact.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny.
I was just going to say, and one of the best things, if there's someone around you who is, especially, I'll just say a loved one, as opposed to a stranger on the street, your spouse, a child, a parent, anybody, a close friend. And if they're going through a tough time, or they're having a challenge, or you don't even know what's happening, but they're just being a little abrupt with you. Let's use that choice of words. again, it's, you can go and you can meet them there. And if you, I mean, you had a discussion with your spouse and they sort of say something at you in a negative way, if you respond negatively, if you go down to where they're at, it's going to blow up into a whole fight. But if
Mhm.
you can hold yourself at this point here and not necessarily respond in the same manner, obviously you want to respond to what they've said, but respond in a way that moves the energy and pulls it up. You can transform that into a really positive opportunity for growth for both of you.
You know what? I think you're absolutely right. When you're talking about that, I'm not one for sympathy. Like, I don't like to give it. I like to hold to kind of a firm spot in the middle, just saying, hey, do what you got to do. Like, if you want to cry right now, cry. I'm not going to cry with you. I'm going to stay here as an anchor. I'm going to be me, because this isn't my pain. It's yours. I'm not going to take it on, but I'm going to be here with you. And I'm not much for hugging people in those moments, because they have to process their own pain. Like, Michael Burnoff. Have you ever seen him yell at somebody for going to hug somebody? Have you ever seen him do that?
I haven't seen that. No.
Oh, it's hilarious, because people relive their freaking trauma all day, every day, and replays like a bad movie in their freaking head all the time. Anytime they got this free moment, and we all know these patterns. We can see them in the people around us. We don't necessarily notice them in ourselves, but we certainly see the reflection in the people around us. But what Michael will do is, if somebody's like up sharing their whatever trauma when he's got them in the room and they start crying, I've seen people go to like put their arm around them to console them. He'd be like, leave her alone. She is a grown woman. Let her deal with her own pain. And it's a really interesting thing to see. And it set the example for how I deal with other people's pain. I can't make it feel better. The only thing that makes it feel better is going through it. So go through it.
Yeah.
Experience it. Feel the full brunt of it. And it feels terrible. But on the other side of that is where it starts feeling better. But you got to get to that point. You got to break that barrier of emotion where you got nothing left. And then it starts to feel better. Make it numb for a while, but then it starts to get better. But people's reluctance to go through that pain part of it and to look for a place to go plug in their umbilical cord again, that's what keeps people stuck emotionally for years, decades. It's crazy.
Do you want to know the analogy that popped in my head as you were saying that?
Yes.
It's like when
I
it's like,
don't.
well, I'm going to tell you anyway, because and I'll just say, it's like when you've got stomach flu and you're like, your stomach's this and that. And if you go to, no, I'm not going to throw it up, I'm not going to get it out. But it's like when you throw it up, suddenly it's, oh, everything feels so much better now. But you've got to go through that. You got to go through that experience of, you got to expel it from. And the only way to do that is you've got to go through it.
Yeah. Or if you had 20 pops, you got to puke, rally, and get back to the bar, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I get it.
It's been a long time since I've done that one, but yeah.
Puke and rally, baby. Mouth starts watering. Yeah, no, not going down that. I have a weak stomach for that. We're not going down that way. JT, this is totally a conversation I wasn't expecting to have, but it's great. It fills the second part of our money mindset momentum, actually, and the third part. I feel like we're on a great path for momentum right now, buddy. Very grateful for the last year and a half doing this show with you, and all of the crazy adventures that we have together. So thank you for that. Looking forward to at least a couple hundred more episodes of this.
Well, thank you for yourself as well. I mean, it's been, I know, especially at the beginning, it was, as with anything, it's about being consistent. And I know at the beginning it was a little bit tough with us getting the consistency down, but you were always there. You're always, okay, are we ready? We got the episode on for today. And with that, I'm so glad that, so grateful for your persistence, saying, hey, let's keep this going. Let's keep, obviously, your positive energy every day when we're on here. It's so much fun. And hey, we've had a lot of laughs, and I'm really excited for what we've got coming up.
Yeah, we've met some crazy people. Not crazy, like bad crazy, like amazing people. We've had some really great guests. I just uploaded our episode with Adam Gilbert to our YouTube channel. That was a great episode. Adam Gilbert with commercial real estate in Palm Springs. We had a lot of laughs on that episode. That was a lot of fun to do. Ken Van Loo, I would say, is one of my favorite guests. We just had a great time with him. Lots of laughs. Zach Morrow, Jacob Vanderslice. We've got, well, I'll just say Martin Droud's coming out. Oh, actually, by the time this episode goes live, his episode will be live, so I can talk about it. That's the one guest that I've fanboyed over. So I am a big fan of what Martin does. So
well, that's the one guest coming on who, I mean, you've done several things with him in the past, and you've met him personally long before he was a guest in the show.
Yeah, it was kind of neat. I've taken his courses and we've met in person. Yeah, it was cool. So I definitely fanboyed on that one. Whatever. Anyhow, JT, thank you for 100 episodes. 99, sorry, 100 coming.
Well, thank you as well, Jeff. As I said, it's been so much fun, and looking forward to a few hundred more.
Yeah, me too, buddy. And excited about the new branding. If you want to know more about what Jonathan and I are doing in anything we're doing, just Google Guide to the Grind. You can go to guidetothegrind.com, or you can find us on every channel out there. At this point, I think all our social media should be rebranded. Everything's going to be under Guide to the Grind, guidetothegrind.com. You can download our book about what's going on in the market right now with rising interest rates and how you can protect yourself. We've got all sorts of stuff inside of our system as well. So make sure you download that book. We've got plenty of other free stuff we'll send you. Thank you very much for listening. Such a strange episode to like, this is like, dude, I hit record and we went left immediately. We were going to talk about the market, and we're going to do a clip show, and we're going to, but I think it's the conversation we needed. It's not the conversation we wanted, but the one we deserved.
Hey, it's setting up what we've done and where we're going, because it really starts with the mindset, figuring out what's going on, who's on your team, and go from there.
Absolutely. And momentum comes next. So thank you for listening to this episode of Guide to the Grind. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you soon.